termination with immediate effect. My gift to you for your wedding. On my phone screen, the text message shone like a neon light in the dark. I shifted on the lovely bridal chair and stared at it while my wedding dress rustled. The name Camille Rodas is mine. I was just the victim of the most retaliatory behavior I have ever encountered, and I am 33 years old. Lucas Bennett, the pampered 28-year-old son of Gray Links Industries CEO, sent the message. Even I was astonished by the cold, calculating rage that hammered in my heart as I read those terrible words again, rather than terror. Losing my position as Senior Business Development Manager wasn't the only thing at stake. Lucas was attempting to ruin what ought to have been the most joyous day of my life. Once more, my phone buzzed. Lucas sent another message. I hope you have enough money set aside for the honeymoon. You'll require it for unemployment insurance. Through the screen, I could almost hear his arrogant laughing. He believed he was quite astute to time this statement to cause the most embarrassment possible. Is everything well, my love? David Walsh, my future husband, peeked around the corner of the bridal suite. David was everything Lucas wasn't at the age of 35. Kind, mature, and a competent financial counselor in his own right. I was expecting shock or indignation when I showed him the messages, but all he did was laugh. Poor Lucas, David remarked, laughingly shaking his head. I gazed curiously at my husband and said, he has no idea what he's just done. What are you saying? David had a mysterious smile. Assume for the moment that some people are going to discover the distinction between earned intelligence and hereditary power. A gentle knock on the door was made by the wedding coordinator. It's time, Miss Rhodes. Something changed inside of me when I stood up and straightened my outfit. Instead, something powerful and resolute had been awakened by the devastating blow Lucas believed he had inflicted. During my 5 years with Gray Links Industries, I developed contacts, won significant contracts, and became one of their most valued assets. The building could bear Lucas's father's name, but I had something much more potent, the respect and confidence of our largest customers. Another buzzing sound came from my phone. Lucas once more. Monday, tidy up your desk. You will be let out by security. I put the phone in my purse and grinned. Lucas had made a crucial error in judgment. He believed that my influence at Gray Links Industries would cease if I were fired. He was unaware that my leaving would set off a series of events that would bring his meticulously planned world to an abrupt end. Lucas Bennett would learn the real meaning of consequences by the end of this wedding reception. I thought about how I'd gotten into Lucas's crosshairs as I walked down the aisle toward David. It all began 6 months ago when Lucas's father, Robert Bennett, declared that he would be assuming additional duties at Gray Links Industries. I was the company's top performer for years, generating over $60 million in contracts during my time there. The company specialized in manufacturing industrial automation equipment. Lucas had hated me all his life. He walked into a senior management position right out of business school, while I rose from an entry-level post by sheer willpower and results. When I closed the $40 million contract with North Peak Engineering last month, a deal Lucas had been attempting to close for 2 years, his envy turned poisonous. She is portraying me as inept. I had heard him grumbling to his dad. Robert had responded politely but firmly. Son, the results speak louder than the complaints. It seems that the seed for today's retaliatory attack was sown in that conversation. Lucas must have spent weeks organizing this, arranging for my dismissal to fall on my wedding day. He most likely pictured me sobbing, his vicious power play ruining my beautiful day. From the start, my relationship with the Bennett family had been complicated. Robert sincerely appreciated my work and frequently complimented me on my ability to comprehend the needs of consumers in a manner that his own son was unable to. Camille understands intuitively what makes these transactions successful. At my most recent performance evaluation, he informed the board of directors. Lucas, however, believed that my success threatened his chance to inherit the business in the future. His own mediocre performance was made to look worse by every big deal I was able to land. 3 months ago, Lucas's bitterness boiled over when I was given the coveted Industry Excellence Award. He began leaking information about my aggressive negotiating strategies, sabotaging my initiatives, and setting up meetings that conflicted with my client presentations. Ironically, my professional network was really improved by my marriage to David. Our combined contacts made us a powerful partnership, and David's consulting firm served numerous Fortune 500 corporations. It is likely that Lucas viewed our union as an additional challenge to his authority. I reflected on the phone calls I had made earlier this week as I arrived at the altar and took David's hands. Just checking in and establishing ties with important clients through casual discussions. Lucas was unaware that these were not arbitrary social calls. He didn't even know he was playing chess, yet those were strategic movements. During our most recent lunch meeting, Margaret Wu from North Peak Engineering expressed her worry regarding the management changes at Gray Links Industries. I hope they have no plans to reorganize the team. Our relationship with you is the main reason we chose Gray Links over the competition. She had said those words, and neither of us anticipated how prescient they would turn out to be. Unaware of it yet, Lucas had just committed the greatest error of his affluent life. Even though the ceremony was lovely, I couldn't help but think that Lucas was somewhere rejoicing in his apparent triumph. He most likely pictured me finding out about his message while I was making my vows and sobbing in front of our 150 guests. Rather, I stood there making vows to David, my thoughts already processing the ramifications of Lucas' actions. I excused myself to the woman's room during the cocktail hour and took out my phone. Since there were no unanswered calls from Robert Bennett, Lucas had not yet told his father about the dismissal. Lucas was obviously acting independently in this instance, most likely with the intention of presenting it to Robert as a fate to comply with on Monday morning. I came upon Margaret Wu's number while looking through my contacts. Over the previous 6 months, Margaret had evolved from a client to the person who made the decisions regarding the $40 million North Peak Engineering contract. We became true friends in the workplace, based on trust and respect for one another. It's Camille here, Margaret. I apologize for troubling you on a Saturday, but I wanted to let you know about some changes that have been made at Gray Links Industries. What changes? Margaret's voice was instantly worried. I recently lost my job. With instant effect. On Monday, I wanted you to hear it straight from me instead of via the official channels. The ensuing stillness was telling. Margaret's voice was icy with rage when she finally spoke. You were fired? The one who rescued our collaboration on his own? Did their own engineering staff have a superior understanding of our technological requirements? I'm afraid so. The choice was made by Lucas Bennett. Little Margaret's conceit got the better of her. I have a direct question for you, Camille. Can Gray Links Industries fulfill our contract criteria without your help, in your professional opinion? I hesitated, carefully selecting my words. Although I am unable to offer advice regarding your business choices, I will say this to you. Margaret. My thorough comprehension of your requirements and Gray Links' capabilities served as the foundation for the technical specifications that we jointly created. It would be difficult for someone else to swiftly duplicate that transfer of knowledge. Another long silence. I understand. Camille, I appreciate the courtesy call. Have fun on your wedding day. We will communicate shortly. I hung up with a grim sense of satisfaction. Margaret Wu wasn't just any client. She was the kind of detail-oriented executive who would immediately question any disruption to a project this size. The North Peak contract had penalty clauses for delays or substandard delivery that could hurt Gray Links financially. I returned to the reception with a smile, accepting congratulations from guests while my phone remained strategically silenced in my purse. Lucas believed he was going to knock me out, but in reality, he had simply given me the ideal tool to undermine his credibility. His wedding gift to me would turn out to be the worst choice he has ever made in his career by Monday morning. My phone began to buzz non-stop while the wedding reception was in full flow. During David's speech, I looked at the screen and noticed that 17 calls from different numbers had been missed. Anticipation, not dread, caused my pulse to increase. The wheels I'd set in motion were already whirling faster than I'd planned. "Ladies and gentlemen," David said as he held up his glass of champagne. As the applause subsided, I excused myself once more. "I married the most brilliant woman I know today. Camille has this amazing ability to see 3 moves ahead in any situation. It's what makes her so successful in business, and it's what made me fall in love with her." If only he knew how prophetic those words were. Heading to the venue's business center this time. I've spoken with our board of directors. We're invoking the key personnel clause in our contract with Grey Links Industries. I've already missed 23 calls and counting. Margaret Wu left the first voicemail, which was sent 40 minutes after our previous conversation. The next message came from James Harrison at Christensen Global, another important client. "Camille, Margaret Wu just called me regarding some shakeup at Grey Links, and she mentioned, you've been let go. If you're no longer on the project, we consider the agreement void. I'll be calling Robert Bennett personally on Monday to discuss our options. We need to talk immediately. Our contract has similar personnel requirements." My hands trembled as I listened to message after message. Word was spreading through the industry network faster than wildfire. These weren't just casual business relationships. They were professional partnerships built on years of trust and successful collaboration. Thomas Rodriguez from Loomer Publishing had left 2 messages. "Camille, this is urgent. We're 3 weeks away from implementation on our automation system. If Grey Links thinks they can just swap out project managers at this stage, they're mistaken. Call me back immediately." I sat down heavily in one of the business center chairs, staring at my phone as the call count reached 31. Lucas had grossly underestimated the interconnected nature of our client relationships. In the industrial automation business, personal trust was everything. Clients didn't just hire companies, they hired people. My phone rang again. This time it was Victoria Stone from Foxton Interactive, our newest client. I answered on the second ring. "Camille, thank God you picked up. Please tell me that this termination rumor isn't true." "I'm afraid it is, Victoria. Lucas Bennett made the decision earlier today." "That idiot," Victoria said bluntly. "Camille, I'm going to be honest with you. The only reason we selected Grey Links over Bravantine Logistics was your past performance. I just received a very upsetting call from Margaret Wu. We're pulling out if you're not there to manage our project. I've already written the letter of cancellation." "Victoria, thank you for your trust, but you should decide what's best for Foxton Interactive." "I am. The best outcome is working with professionals who keep their word. If Grey Links wants to play games with employees while a project is underway, they can tell their shareholders why they lost a $12 million contract." I sat in stunned silence after the call ended. Given that Victoria's contract was only 2 weeks old and that losing it would result in a $3 million liquidated damages clause, Grey Links Industries could lose more than $55 million when combined with the North Peak Engineering contract. I saw a reflection of myself in the hallway mirror as I headed back toward the reception. David buzzed my phone and said, "Everything okay? You've been gone a while." I typed back, "Just handling some urgent calls. Be right there." I returned to the reception just as the band began our first dance, and David took my hand, and as we swayed to the music, he whispered the calls of clients, and I murmured back. My wedding dress was still immaculate, my makeup was flawless, but my eyes held a fierce determination that hadn't been there this morning. Lucas Bennett had wanted to ruin my wedding day, but instead he'd given me the perfect opportunity to show exactly why firing me was the biggest mistake of his career. Lucas has no idea what he's just sparked, so I grinned as we rotated slowly. "They're not happy about the termination news." "How not happy? More than 50 million contracts are at stake." David's movements never stopped, but I felt him strain slightly. The industry network was in full crisis mode, and I chose to answer the next call in public right there at our table after I noticed my phone lighting up repeatedly on our sweetheart table during the song. By the time we finished dancing, I had 47 missed calls and dozens of text messages. In fact, he just destabilized his father's entire business. I just got off the phone with Margaret Wu. and she's talking about voiding the North Peak contract. What the hell is going on? Your son terminated my employment this afternoon as my wedding present, I said loudly enough for guests nearby to hear. Congratulations on your son's decision-making skills, Camille. When Robert finally responded, his voice sounded strained. Lucas did what? Check your messages, Mr. Bennett. I think you'll find a number of clients expressing worries about project continuity. The quiet was so long that I assumed the connection had dropped. I'm afraid it's too late for that, Mr. Bennett. Your son made his position very clear. Camille, pay close attention to what I'm saying. Whatever Lucas said or did, we can fix this. You're not fired, you're promoted. Name your price. I looked around at my wedding guests, many of whom were listening to this very public conversation with fascination. I paused to let that sink in, and then I said, maybe you should talk to Lucas about the strategic implications of his personnel decisions. You don't understand, Camille. The North Peak contract alone has a key personnel clause that requires my direct involvement, as do the Christian Global Contract, the Foxton Interactive Agreement, and several others. I hung up before Robert could answer, and the table erupted in murmurs. David held my hand approvingly while my cousin Janet stared at me in disbelief. Did you just tell a CEO that his son blew up a $50 million deal? Janet whispered. Actually, it's closer to $60 million already, and that's just the beginning. My phone quickly rang again. Robert is phoning back. I let the voicemail go. After that, it kept ringing. Robert Bennett had called me 12 times and texted me 4 times in a row by the time the dinner course was served. The most recent text said, I'm pleading with you, Camille. Lucas did something without telling me. I'll double or triple whatever he offered you. If we lose these contracts, the board will have my head. I think Robert Bennett is having a very educational evening. The night is young, I said. Wait until he talks to the other clients. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a call from Sandra Phillips at Riverton Manufacturing, with whom I had been building a relationship for 8 months and whose potential contract was worth $25 million. David laughed softly when I showed him the message. How wonderful to hear from you on my wedding day, Sandra. I hope I'm not disturbing you, Camille, but I just heard the most troubling news from Margaret Wu. As Sandra Phillips expressed her concerns about the instability at Gray Links Industries, I watched the sun set through the large windows of the reception venue. I understand your concerns, Sandra, I said into the phone as guests danced around me. The transition at Gray Links will definitely be challenging for all parties involved. Challenging is an understatement. The golden hour light felt symbolic. Lucas's career was coming to an end just as my new life with David was beginning. Our board specifically chose Gray Links because of your involvement. That was the final nail in Lucas's coffin. Sandra's contract was not just worth $25 million, it was a doorway to the entire municipal infrastructure market, and losing Riverton Manufacturing would send a message to other government contractors that Gray Links Industries was unstable. If you're not there, we'll need to rethink our entire procurement strategy. My friend Allison, who worked in corporate communications, came up to me after I ended the call and said, "What's up, Camille? Your phone hasn't stopped ringing for 2 hours." I explained simply that Lucas Bennett made a strategic mistake by firing me today without taking into account the wider ramifications. That's terrible on your wedding day. It's definitely been educational. I grinned when my phone buzzed again. This time from Blackstone Outfitters' Kenneth Morrison. "Excuse me, I should take this." Kenneth's message was the same as all the others: doubts about Gray Link's stability, worries about project continuity, and subliminal threats to cancel his $15 million contract. By this point, the pattern was obvious: the industry network that I had spent years cultivating was immediately working against Gray Links Industries. And that's just the immediate impact. The reputational damage will cost them much more in future opportunities. Lucas must be having quite an evening. David showed up at my side with a glass of champagne. "How many contracts are we up to now?" Total potential losses approaching $90 million. I sipped my champagne thoughtfully. My phone rang with an unknown number, and when I answered, Lucas himself was on the line, his voice tight with panic. I just got off a really horrible phone call with my father. Lucas, you were extremely considerate to call on my wedding day. Are you having a good evening? Stop acting. Camille, we need to talk. There has been a misunderstanding. Margaret Wu is threatening to invalidate the North Peak contract, and Victoria Stone has already sent a cancellation notice for Foxton Interactive. He is concerned about some client reactions to your leaving. Client reactions? I pretended to be surprised. What could you mean? You know precisely what I mean. The haughty young executive who'd sent those smug text messages a few hours earlier was quickly realizing the extent of his miscalculation. That does sound concerning, I said sympathetically. Have you considered that these clients might be questioning Gray Lynx's commitment to project continuity? Thomas Rodriguez demanded a meeting first thing Monday morning, and I could hear the desperation creeping into his voice. That's very generous, Lucas, but I'm afraid I'm rather busy with my wedding reception right now. This isn't a game. The board is calling an emergency meeting for tomorrow morning. Camille, I'm ready to reverse the termination. Full reinstatement, immediate promotion to Vice President of Business Development, and a 20% pay increase. My father is furious. If we lose these contracts, then perhaps you should have considered the consequences before sending me that charming text message about cleaning out my desk. I hung up and turned off my phone entirely. The nuclear chain reaction Lucas had triggered was beyond stopping now. Even if I wanted to save Gray Lynx Industries, which I decidedly did not, the damage to their reputation was irreversible. Monday morning arrived with the subtlety of a freight train. I sat in my home office, officially unemployed, but feeling more powerful than I ever had at Gray Lynx Industries. My phone had been buzzing continually since 7 a.m., but I was in no hurry to answer. David brought me coffee and kissed my forehead. Ready for the fireworks? They've already started. I showed him my voicemail count. 37 messages, most from Robert Bennett and various Gray Lynx executives. Lucas apparently spent his Sunday in crisis meetings. The first voicemail was from Robert. Timestamped at 6:47 a.m. Camille, I've been up all night. Foxton Interactive has formally terminated its contract. Christensen Global is requesting a thorough project team restructure. Please call me back. We need to talk conditions. The second message was even more frantic. Camille, this is Robert again. The board is convening an emergency session. Riverton Manufacturing just sent a formal notice of intent to withdraw. I'm authorized to offer you a partnership stake in the company. I listened to each increasingly frantic message while sipping my coffee. By message 15, Robert was offering me Lucas's job. By message 23, he was offering me his own. The final message left at 5:30 a.m. The board is considering ousting me as CEO. Lucas is finished. Whatever you want, it's yours. Please help us rescue what's left of the company. Camille, please. The preliminary damage estimates are terrible. My personal phone rang. Margaret Wu. Camille, I wanted to give you an update. North Peak has formally withdrawn from all agreements with Gray Lynx Industries. We're already in discussions with Bravantine Logistics about taking over our automation needs. I erased all the voicemails without replying because there was nothing left to save, and even if there was, I had no intention of saving the people who attempted to embarrass me on my wedding day. The headline, Gray Lynx Industries faces mass client exodus after key executive departure, appeared in Industrial Automation Weekly on Wednesday. I'm sorry to hear about the disruption to your project timeline, Margaret. Actually, we're not sorry at all. Bravantine has offered us better terms and a more experienced project team. Gray Lynx loss is definitely our gain. Lucas Bennett was nowhere to be found, and my former colleagues who had been calling to offer congratulations and job opportunities explained that he had been placed on administrative leave pending a board investigation. Robert Bennett had resigned as CEO, taking full responsibility for what the board described as a catastrophic failure of management oversight. The article explained how a single personnel decision had resulted in the loss of over $100 million in active contracts. Victoria Stone from Foxton Interactive called to offer me a position as Director of Strategic Partnerships. The way you handled this whole situation was brilliant. 4 days ago, Grey Lynx was a thriving company, but now it is a cautionary tale about the importance of key personnel relationships in relationship-driven industries. The interim CEO was already receiving acquisition offers from competitors, looking to buy Grey Lynx's remaining assets at fire sale prices. You transformed a spiteful attack into an expression of your genuine worth, she added. Our team needs people that think strategically like that. Margaret Wu, Thomas Rodriguez, and Kenneth Morrison all made similar offers. David discovered me in my office that afternoon, surrounded by contract proposals and job offers. It seems like destroying Grey Lynx Industries was good for your career prospects. It's amazing what happens when people see your true value, I said, in response to Sandra Phillips, who called on behalf of Riverton Manufacturing. We're expanding our procurement team and looking for someone with deep industry knowledge and proven relationship building skills. I'm thinking of starting my own consulting firm, and Lucas thought he was going to ruin my career, but instead he just advertised my skills to all the big players in the industry. So, which offer will you accept? I smiled, looking at the stack of opportunities Lucas had unintentionally created for me. All of these companies need someone who understands both technical requirements and client relationship management. Lucas Bennett's attempt to ruin my wedding day had backfired spectacularly, and within a week he was unemployed and unemployable, permanently damaging his reputation in the industry. Robert Bennett's resignation took effect immediately, and he spent the next few months juggling board investigations and shareholder lawsuits. Lucas just demonstrated that there is a huge market for that expertise. Lucas's inheritance vanished along with the family business, leaving him to explain to potential employers why his tenure as a senior executive had lasted exactly one disastrous weekend. 6 weeks later, as I signed the incorporation papers for Rhodes Strategic Consulting, I thought about how Lucas's cruelty had actually been the greatest gift of my career. The stock price of the Grey Lynx industry fell 60% before the company was eventually acquired by a competitor for a fraction of its former value. Sometimes the best retaliation is just letting your enemies destroy themselves while you build something better from the ashes of their mistakes. His savage wedding gift had released me from a company that didn't value my contributions and launched me into entrepreneurship with a ready-made clientele and an industry reputation for turning adversity into opportunity.